Hey there guys, this is Don from Prana-Tech. In today's video I'm going to be doing a review of this ArcCaptain 200 MIG. This company approached me a while back and wanted to know if I wanted to do a review of their product. I'd never heard of them, so I was a little reluctant, but they did send me the specs on their welder. So I took a look at it, and it actually looked like a pretty quality unit. So I decided to do a review on it. They sent it to me, and I was pretty impressed with the features and the layout and the simplicity of working with it. So I will go through all the systems, and I'm going to do a little bit of a different type of review. Instead of usually I go through the features and then I do a few test welds and show you, that it welds and all that. But this particular instance, I started a welding business a little over a year ago, and so I thought I would change it up and actually take this out in the field and do some actual welding on a job. So what you're going to see is footage from me actually taking this out and using it out in the field. I did do some initial testing with it before I did that, because before I take something like this out in the field on a job that I'm charging a customer for, I'm not going to take it out unless I'm confident that it's going to work. And my initial tests with this were that it performed flawlessly. So I thought, all right, I'm going to change it up and take it out in the field and show you some real footage of it actually working, as a structural welder. All right, so I'm going to spin this around and show you some of the features, and then I'll show you some footage of it out working out in the field. All right, so this is the front panel. It's very simply laid out, and it's very easy to navigate. It's one of the things I like about this welder. It's a very simple. There's not a lot of things you can't figure out on your own, as opposed to some you have to basically go step by step through the manual. This one I hardly had to look at the manual at all because everything was so simple and easily identifiable. So let me turn it on and I'll show you what the screen looks like in the interface. All right, so this does show your voltage and amperage. Right now it's set on MIG because that's what I've been using. When you want to change modes to stick welding, TIG, which it has the option for lift TIG, and it has MIG spool gun and regular MIG. If you want to change your wire size, it's very simple. Right here we have just your basic wire sizes. They are in millimeter, which is not a big deal. You can see that you have 0.6, 0.8, 0.9, and 1 millimeter. So you have 23 thousandths, 30 thousandths, 35 thousandths, and 45 thousandths. This is a synergistic welder, meaning it has a synergy setting. You can turn it on and off. If you turn it off, it will give you wire feed speed separate and voltage separate. So just like a traditional MIG welder. Or you can turn it back to synergy, which is what I use because it is so much simpler and the computer does all the calculations for you. You can just pick up your welder, start welding. And in synergy, you can alter the voltage plus or minus if you want, and it still stays on the synergy settings. The nice thing is that you don't have to wonder how much above or below you are if you change the setting. Many of them you have to guess, what the original was or turn the machine off. This one, if you just start turning the dial, it tells you positive how many volts above, or if you go negative, how many volts under if you needed to do a fine adjustment even while in the synergy setting, which I found that to be a really nice feature for when you're changing settings out in the field, you know, if you need to tweak it just a little bit, that's an easy way to adjust it. And if you want to go back to the factory setting, all you have to do is, you know, turn the knob and dial it back to exactly to 0, and you're back to the Synergy factory setting. Right now I have it on flux core. Mainly lately I've been using just straight CO2, but you can do CO2 mix, which is 75-25. You can do flux core, you can do stainless, and you can do aluminum. You also have your trigger. You can do 2T, which shows up and down. You have 4T, which means you have to press it, it keeps going. Press it again, it shuts off if you're doing a really long weld. And then at the bottom you have spot weld, and it's just a series of 3 spots. So it's pretty simple to get through. Your syn right here shows that you're in synergistic mode, on and off, it lights up. We do have a portal for a spool gun, so if you're running stainless or aluminum spool, you can plug it in right there and switch over to welding aluminum or stainless. Overall, it's a very basic and simple setup. The MIG gun itself is a standard. Most of the foreign ones coming in now is a basic Euro whip setup. So if you need to replace it, it's very common. It's no big deal. You can find these. You can get a Tweco, you know, or any of the other high quality ones if you wanted to replace it down the road. And these are readily available. Pretty much every shop has these, and online. One of the nice features I also found is that they have the positive and negative set up right on the front. One of the things that some of the cheaper welders have or don't have is this feature where you can switch your polarity, because when you go between flux core and solid wire, a lot of the welders, you have to go inside and actually detach the wires, rehook them up in reverse. This is, you know, a nice quick change. You just swap these, put your ground over here to negative, and your output over to positive, and you're off and running with flux core. If you want to switch back, you just swap them, you're done. It takes just a couple seconds. It's a great feature. Alright, one of the other things that I really liked about this welder is a lot of the more affordable MIG welders come with it's a very cumbersome to use setup for using the larger spools. A lot of them have this little knob and a nut and a spring, and you have to undo it, and then the cap, and it all comes off in like 3 or 4 pieces, which is not a huge deal. But when I went to load on this, if you want to run small spools, all you have to do is remove this nut and take off the outer rotating spool here for larger, and then you can load a 2-pound, you know, the small diameter ones, the 4-inch. But when you want to run large ones, which is what I run mostly, all you have to do is take off this big threaded knob. It's very simple. You just screw it on, and the adjustment for tension for your feed roll is internal, so you can do that with your fingers. But if you just leave it set and you're not going to change it, once you get it set, you can just quick change this, put a new roll on, put it on the feed rolls, and get back to welding. That's one of the things that you don't see in a lot of the more affordable welders these days. It does have an all-metal drive system for your wire feed. One of the things I did like is that it does come with a very comprehensive set of drive rolls. It has knurled for doing flux core, it has U-groove for doing aluminum if you wanted to, and it has V-groove in multiple sizes so that you can do just about anything you need right out of the box. Some of the others only come with 1 or 2 rolls, you know, one for flux core, one for solid wire, and that's about it. But this one, they gave you basically everything that you needed from the beginning. It also does come with a bunch of consumables, your MIG gun, your inner gas piece, and your outer shield that just slips on and off, and a couple of extra tips. These are standard Tweco style tips, so you can get them anywhere. It's very easy to find. It does come with a wrench also for changing both of those, the tips and, you know, your gas diffuser. It does come with a stick welding stinger as well. So if you want to use it as a stick welder, you can do that. And it does also come with a argon CO2 gas hose. But it does not come with a regulator, so that is something that you're obviously going to have to order if you're going to weld with gas. I already had a regulator, so it was no big deal for me, but that is one thing you need to consider and buy if you're going to, you know, order this welder and then get everything together so that you can begin welding. It comes with about a 10-foot ground. It's got nice copper contacts, alligator style. All right, so I'm going to take it out in the field and show you how it welds. All right. So I took the welder out into the field, and I was building a shade structure, and here are some photos of it when it was completed. So I needed to weld the uprights, so that's what I'm doing here today. I cut the uprights and I'm welding them to the base plates all the way around. I used the ArcCaptain MIG 200 and it performed flawlessly. I was able to get all the welding of the uprights done this day, and I had no problems, and it proved to be a very reliable and very smooth MIG welder. Here in just a second here, I'm going to show you at the end of the day. I didn't shoot footage of the entire day, but at the end of the day, on the last upright, the 5th one, I'll show you some close-up footage. And this one was the very last one, so I was finished for the day, and I'll show you some close-up of how nice this thing welds. Nice and clean, good penetration. This was 1/4-inch base plates with 1/8-inch uprights, thickness of 4-inch by 4-inch. All right, so I showed you it welding out in the field, and I have to say that my overall impressions on this machine are excellent. It's a quality welder that welds very smooth, and I didn't have any hiccups running it through structural welding. On most everything that you saw in there was 1/8-inch and 1/4-inch. So I was running it at max amperage, and the machine never shut down, and I never had a point where it overheated or anything like that. It performed flawlessly. I was very impressed, and I definitely would recommend it to someone looking to get into MIG welding and wanted an affordable machine that performs very well. One of the things I would like to say also is that they have a really well-written manual. A lot of the foreign welders, you can see that English is obviously not the native language, and the translations don't always come through, but this is a very well-written and comprehensive manual, which normally I don't see. A lot of times I have to do a how-to setup on a lot of the welders, but this one was so well written that when I went through it, I couldn't find hardly anything that I thought was a misprint or was not easily understandable. So that's a rare thing in a lot of these. It does seem to be getting more and more common as the companies overseas realize that we need good manuals. So especially guys starting out that don't, they shouldn't have to go onto the internet to try and figure out how to set up their machine. They should be able to just flip open their manual, go through it, and make their settings and start welding. So that is another plus that I really liked about this machine. Overall, I'd say, yeah, it's a great little welder that performs wonderfully. So if you have any questions or anything, put them in the comments and I'd be glad to answer them. So I appreciate you guys watching, and thank you for stopping by my channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks, guys.